Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and I'm joined once more by the one and only Kieron Gillen. How are you, mate?
It's not. It's good. I'm fine. I've got my dice as a fidget tool. I'm looking forward to talking Sins of Sinister.
Brilliant.
Sings. I said Sings of Sinister. That's a
Well,
very
that would be a great accompanying Spotify playlist, no doubt.
right,
That's
the musical version. Sins of Sinister hits Broadway. It's an all singing, all dancing thing.
yeah.
I could definitely see that. Why not?
There we go. I mean, as we've talked about in the past, you and I have both written a lot about music, so it's never far away from the
Yes.
conversation. I like that. But rather than Sings of Sinister, we are indeed here to talk about your upcoming Marvel X-Men event, Sins of Sinister, which is, as Marvel is so good at doing, is like kind of an overarching event involving you on the core book and some of your friends and my favorite writers on some of the other books. Like Al and Si. So Al Ewing and Si Spurrier. So what can you tell me about Sins of Sinister, mate?
Well, it's kind of like it's just exploded out my original idea for Mortal X-Men in terms of basically I've got this entire plot based around Sinister trying to use the Moira engine, which is basically Moira being the clone whose death resets the timeline. So basically, he has made a save point system and worked out a way to explore what he wants to do. And what he really wants to do is take over all of Krakoa. So Sins of Sinister is basically picks up from Immortal X-Men 10, where we just go, oh no, he's done it. He has corrupted the Krakoan Resurrection Project. So anyone who dies now has a bit of Sinister in him. Now, like when I pitched Immortal, that was the end of year one. Like you get the final reveal of Xavier taking his hat off and he's got a diamond on his forehead. And it's like, and for me, that the X Office is so collaborative. I was like, oh yeah, corrupted Sinister, and corrupted Xavier. Let's see where we go from there. And immediately, it was like one of the last ideas I think John had before leaving was, oh no, that's just an event, isn't it? So in other words, we go from there, and rather than being the slow boil of that in the story going on, no, let's just take that timeline and run with it. So Sins of Sinister basically picks up straight from Immortal 10 and then goes forward 10 years. And we basically show, okay, what happened when the Sinister influence and all the Krakoa leads to. So basically, it's a roller coaster. Like there's there's a classic way of doing the alternate timelines, just jumping in media res. And I was like, no, I was really interested in showing the scheme because the whole thing about Sinister is being a scheme all along. Let's show exactly. Let's show how he kills Thanos. Let's how they kill the Avengers, how they but also whilst trying to basically keep people on their side. So that's what Sins of Sinister is. And at the end of the time, like end of issue one, Sinister says, "Oh no, it's gone to pot. All my Sinisters are kind of starting to rebel. I better restart the timeline because it's fair. It's like no harm, no foul." And then he discovers his Moiras have been stolen, and he is trapped in the timeline he made. And that's kind of and that's where Sins of Sinister kicks off. And then it's me, Alan, Si, alternating the plot. And doing it across 3 time zones. It's our kind of nod to John with Powers of X. Like we do the first 3 issues, which will all be out by the signing we're doing, is plus 10. The next 3 issues are plus 100 years, and the next 3 issues are plus 1,000 years. So it's like 1,000 years of history of everything going increasingly wrong. And it's awful. It's just it's such a like you've got two writers who obviously work very much at 2000 AD, and one writer who's obviously influenced, but with all that in his genes. No pun intended. It's like I was really doing this big, wild, berserk sci-fi ride for like 11 issues or whatever it is. Yeah, it's fun.
That must feel amazing, mate. I
It's
mean,
good.
what's it like? What's it like working with Al and working with Si?
Like they're two of my closest friends in the industry. I love them both intensely. I love both their writing. They're incredibly like talented. So and obviously we're also like they've worked close together on a trifecta, like the classic
Yeah.
2000 AD like hidden crossover. And we've all worked in the X Office together quite closely. So in other words, it's kind of built on that. Like an early stage, we're playing with the idea of being the whole line. So like the full age of apocalypse. And as we went onwards, it's like actually no, let's keep it tighter. So they're the 3 books which, of course, are most linked to the ongoing plot, because as well as like Mr. Sinister being a complete asshole, let's go that strong. We just go with there's 3 other versions of Sinister out in the timeline, and we've revealed who they are now. And they Mother Righteous, who is like very important in Si's books. Orbis Stellaris, who is kind of like the cosmic Sinister, who is in Al's X-Men Red, and Doctor Stasis in the X-Men. So like it was always kind of all our plots were already in that space. So it really was like me and Al basically cooked up the original timeline. I said, okay, these are the 3 time periods. We start with +10, which is vaguely Invasion of the Body Snatchers, near future cyberpunk. +100 is kind of awful person Star Trek. That's kind of that's the vibe. It's like this the Federation as genocidal monsters. That's kind of what the vibe is. And +1000 is kind of Warhammer 40k. As in everything's gone wrong. Everything's exploding. Moons of dead corpses orbiting burnt suns. We've just gone far off the end. So that's the structure. And then we kind of went, okay, now what's the story? Because we got the setting, and basically all of us have our plots. X-Men Red and size plans after the crossover, and me bringing back on Immortal. This is all part of our story. And yeah, we're going through a timeline. It then comes, I'm not saying how it comes back, but the fact there's already the Moira engines in the plot that gives you an implication, oh, it can come back, but things are fundamentally changed, and we step forward into where we're going next. So it's kind of like a logical extension of what we're doing in the X-Line, which is fun, and like, I'm not saying it's like a rap battle or anything, but it is like the fact we kind of have the brakes taken off means, okay, what could we do with the genes, tech of the mutants if ethics didn't exist? And there's a lot of that. Like every issue is a kind of like, oh, that's fun. Like one of the side's main characters is a Wagnerine, who's like a Wolverine Nightcrawler cross. And she's got like, it's a wonderful, she's obviously got Nightcrawler's tail, but she's got a claw in her tail, which is just like really cute. And then we've got increasingly berserk stuff as well. So it's all good stuff.
I couldn't think of 3 better writers more suited to going down this kind of berserk post 2000 AD route. I mean, in fact, that really spoke to me when you said that. It is based taking the whole 2000 AD ethic and sort of sneaking it into the X office and into the X universe. Yeah. That's such a beautiful outcome for those early years you all had, either working within the 2000 AD universe or being influenced by it. I think that's a brilliant way to deploy all of that experience.
It's fun. I mean, it's the old kind of rush of ideas, the thrill power of 2000 AD. It's a bit like that. Like the fact that it even moves across 3 timelines so quickly. That's just like idea, and it's like I'm just hoping, because it's the weird thing. It's incredibly dark as the story goes. It's parodically dark by the end of it, but it's also funny. It's got that element of like the Torquemada-esque. Oh yeah, this is awful, but at the same time, there's a wink is probably the wrong word, but at least a playfulness. So yeah, I think like at least so far, it's like it's done really well. Like the first 3 issues of all, they're in 3. They've all gone back to a second printing. And fans are liking it, because it's got that vibe, you know what I mean? Like, which I kind of sort of sense that people know that we're having fun with it. At the same time, it's also like, what the hell are they going to do next? Which is good.
Yeah, I had Art Germ on the show the other day, and we were looking at the alternate cover he did, Sins of Sinister cover he did. Yeah, it's so brilliant. The Emma Frost he did, just so wonderful.
Yeah, honestly, that's an amazing. And honestly, you saw that cover, and it's like, oh yeah, that's on fire. Actually, the alternate covers across the line for the crossover is really good. But
yeah, no, it's all great stuff. What is it like working on the evolving X tapestry, if you will? Because something never ceases to amaze me as somebody who was an original X-Men reader, and then during the initial like Claremont and Cochran, Claremont and Byrne spike, was a dedicated X reader, and then at the time I thought, well, there was a certain point where I thought my interest might have waned because of the ongoing cosmic soap opera nature of it all, and the fact that it kept on folding out. But I think one of the strengths of the X universe is that that's continued unabated, and rather than go, oh man, we might have overdeveloped this, it's like, no, let's just keep it going. So what's that like working within that X tapestry?
It's fun. Like, I'm also somebody who editing is quite important, for me. Like it's all of this, but it's also like it's got to be about people, like trying to basically. I mean, that's the one reason why with Immortal X-Men, every issue is basically a character study. We take the point of view of a character and we hear their voice, we hear their hopes and fears. And it's like, just, the X-Men, the humanity of it is still really kind of key. So that's kind of what I think. And a lot of it is it's so, the level of epic in X-Men means I don't even think about it that much. I choose, okay, this is my material. Let's find an emotional way through it. And it's more like, these are just characters I really like and love. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I always think about like when I was writing Darth Vader in the Star Wars books, I regularly got out of bed and ran downstairs to write down this idea I had about Darth Vader. I was like, no, this is how Darth Vader can kill someone else and say something cool. And it's something the same, like me getting in bed and texting myself a line that I don't know, Hope or Exodus are going to do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that to it, which is it's like there's a reason why they're successful as they are. They're just a great set of characters.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Who are your art team on Sins of Sinister again, mate?
Wow. The thing is, it's complicated. Like we start with Lucas. Lucas.
This is why I'm asking. Yeah.
Like I've actually generally Lucas Vernick, and then we basically Paco takes over on the +10. So this is actually the main thing. We got I've got to get the name. Paco takes over like +10, who does all 3 issues. Then Andrea does +100. So it's got, and then oh my god, I can't pronounce him. Andres Alamo. Oh bollocks. Sorry.
These names are tough, mate. You know, even if you're working, and it's the usual thing of if you see somebody's name written down on a piece of paper, you know, sometimes you come up with your own individual.
The fact 2 of the names actually begin with A throw me. Anyway, and of course now actually the final issue of +1000 is done by somebody else who I haven't worked with, so I don't remember the name. This is embarrassing. And then +1000, the final Dominion issue, to wrap it all off. Paco comes back on again, does the future setting, and then Lucas comes back and does and now we're back to the present day ending. So like there's like, and that's one of the things we really want to do, is in each one of the time periods have its own vibe. So it was rather than like having the same artist on every mini, so in other words, one, you know, Immoral X-Men 1, 2, 3, we actually have the same artist in the time period. So that gives it a kind of coherence. Like what so much of our hope was, yes, we want you to read all 11 issues, and if you do, you'll definitely be rewarded. But at the same time, if you just read like the minis, like, you know, Storm and the Brotherhood issues 1, 2, and 3, you're going to get a story. In the same, so in other words, it's doing both of them at once, and which I'm really proud of. And of course, the artists adds to that effect as well. So you know, we're trying to the multi-dimensional chess of what we're doing. If you let me be pretentious for a second, which I hope you will.
Of course. I mean, I think there's no other way. Again, when you're dealing with the X universe, you've got to be all in on it. Who's the editor in the X office these days?
Mainly Jordan. Like Jordan White is the our editor in chief, editor of X.
Yes, yeah. And have you made it over to the physical X office in recent times? I imagine not, because of the pandemic.
No. I mean, like between Iris and all the summits have been virtual so far. Yeah. I know Marvel are starting to sort of. I know Tom Brevoort's excellent newsletter. He was talking about he had his office. His people went into work for like a week or 2, and they're sort of rotating and practicing. So I think they might be heading back there. But no, I haven't been back in. I've not seen any of the X people in the flesh since I rejoined the office. And plus, I'm not sure I would go. You know, with Iris, my daughter's young. I'm not sure I would anyway. It's a shame. I mean, like I miss Jordan, for example. I've worked with Jordan since I worked in the X office first time. He was like he'd just come in as an assistant. And then he was also the Star Wars editor. So I worked. You know, he's probably the editor I've worked with most at Marvel. So it's just really nice to work with him. He's somebody who's I trust implicitly, you know, and he lets me get away with the most awful stuff.
Now those are words to live by, mate. So we've been talking about Sins of Sinister, the entire event, the entire tapestry of books written by yourself, Kieron, and by Al Ewing and by Si Spurrier, and all of the books we've been talking about can be ordered or pre-ordered from the links attached to our conversation. But not only that. You're gearing up for an epic signing at Forbidden Planet London on Saturday, the 25th of February, are you not?
We are, yeah. We're going to go, me, Si and Al will all be there at 2 p.m. to sign for an hour, and it'll be lovely to see people in the flesh.
Right on, in the flesh. And again, the details of that are attached to this video, and that's Forbidden Planet London, our flagship store on 179 Shaftesbury Avenue at 2 p.m. on Saturday the 25th of February. You don't just get one great X-writer, you get 3 of them all at the same time. Kieron, Si and Al. And I very much look forward to seeing you then, mate.
Yes, look, me too. Right, pleasure to see you, Andrew.
Always great to see you, and thanks so much for joining me. It's magnificent work you guys are doing, and it's always a pleasure having you on. I'll see you soon.
Thanks so much. See us.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.